So now from His Royal Highness, we've heard very clearly the ambitions for Saudi Arabia. Lots of figures, lots of ambitions, lots of intentions, lots of plans. It's a competitive market right around the world, right around this region, for those who want to spend money and enjoy the kind of access that is now planned in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. How to achieve it? That's what this panel is about for the next 45 minutes. The ground rules are the same, a conversation, and you can always email me, you can always tweet me, you can make sure that you get a message to me, but time is of the essence here. We're already running about an hour late. And my job really is to make sure that we hear from the experts on the panel about how you attract people to a destination. The title, Developing the Appeal of a Destination. Easy to decide in a big planning meeting, but then you've got to realize it with both money and skill in a very tough market. We're joined by Badr al-Badr, who is the Chief Executive of Saudi Hotels and Resorts, and also Hamad Abdulaziz al-Sheikh, who is Vice President Marketing and Programs for the Saudi Commission for Tourism. Then Vanessa Branson, who's come here from Marrakesh, where she is running a hotel which she has created, but also she is also running the only trilingual, I should say, arts festival for North Africa in Marrakesh. Very exciting. It takes place towards the end of February. Obviously many attractions about Marrakesh, but understanding how you attract people and what other attractions are needed. Also, His Excellency Abdullah Nasser Al-Luta, who is Secretary General for the Emirates Competitiveness Council across the Gulf, understanding and helping us understand the way that the Emirates, all of them, are in their own way attracting and making themselves into a very desirable destination. And finally, Landa Unzueta, who is joining us from Barcelona. He was critical as Chief of Marketing and Commercial Officer for FC Barcelona. FC Barca, we all know it, a wonderful football club, and also for particularly bringing the UNICEF logo to that club. He's involved in many other things. He's now running his own consultancy, but has helped put Barca on the map, not just with the playing, but with the branding, and also Barcelona as well, with the Olympics and so on. So in the next 45 minutes, 39 minutes now, we want to hear from them about how to drive attracting people to a destination and building that attraction. And give me your thoughts if you have strong views or ideas which you want to put into the mix. I'll be chairing this in the same way, but let's hear first of all the ambitions and the practical way in which His Royal Highness's and the Cabinet's new decrees can be implemented here in Saudi Arabia with Badr al-Badr.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. صاحب السمو, أصحاب السمو والسعادة, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be speaking in English. I come from Saudi Hotels and Resorts Company, one of the premier developers of hotels in this country, and that's my perspective, that's where I'm coming from in my presentation here. Very quickly, when we speak about unleashing the potential or unlocking the potential of tourism in Saudi Arabia, first of all, we need to address who are the tourists. Who are the low-hanging fruits? What kind of tourists can we easily attract to Saudi Arabia? And I have identified 3 segments. These are based on the official numbers published by the Tourism Authority of 2011. We have a big proportion coming for Hajj, Umrah from outside, inbound tourists. Most of them for Hajj, Umrah, visiting family and relatives, but also some for business. We have 18 million tourists or inbound visitors coming from Saudi. The second segment are the domestic travelers. Those are about 22 million in 2011, and those are people whose journey originated in the kingdom and their destination was within the kingdom. These are who I call our heroes. They believe in local tourism. And then we have exported about 16 million trips outside of Saudi Arabia, 70% of that for leisure. And that costed our economy about 30 billion Saudi riyals in 2010, and the number can only increase. So let's see what are the components of Saudi tourism so that we can see how could we unlock the potential. A tourist needs 3 things. needs means to travel, to reach a destination, travel within the destination. They need a comfortable and affordable place to stay, and they also need activities, something to do, something to experience, something to brag about when they're back. They take their pictures in the place and say, I've been to that place with my family. How does Saudi Arabia fare on those three requirements? I would say, in terms of transport, we're doing very well. Lots of investments are coming through. I don't want to speak about a field that's not mine, but 2 new domestic airlines, doubling the capacity of the main airports, and then the railways in Saudi Arabia, their lengths are multiplied 5 times. I'm pretty comfortable there. In terms of accommodation, we have 100,000 more rooms that are announced pipeline in the next few years. That's 63% announced pipeline. The authority expects 173 increase in the number of rooms in 10 years. So I'm comfortable there. Our company is so comfortable about the investment environment for hotels in Saudi Arabia that we have put our money where our mouth is, and we have announced plans to more than double our portfolio of hotels in the next 10 years, from 9 to 21. Going back to unlocking the potential, going back to the 3 segments. So for inbound tourists, we would gain by making use of those people who are already coming to Saudi Arabia, by relaxing the visa requirement, by allowing them to experience authentic Saudi Arabia. For the segment, the domestic segment, they already believe in Saudi Arabia, but they need some requirements, they have some hindrances. They complain about a few things, such as affordability of accommodation. There we need 3 to 4 star accommodations that are quality, that are branded. That's something we and other companies are working on. And then the exporting segment, the 17 million that leave Saudi Arabia. That's not a bad thing that you export tourism. Europe attracts the most tourists, but also is one of the biggest exporters of tourism. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, but we want to retain, as His Highness the Prince has explained, we want to retain some of those tourists, even for short vacations, to stay in Saudi Arabia. And we would retain those. We would also address the domestic segment and the inbound if we answer 2 questions: where to go and what to do. That's where the shortage is. We need to package the destinations in a way that allows people to experience the whole Saudi tourism in an easy way, just like we do it outside. The Tourism Authority, the government of Saudi Arabia, have done great steps in investing in destinations like Uqair. We heard from His Highness the Prince, many new initiatives coming along. But we need, in addition to that, we need to address changing the mindset, maybe addressing some of our societal norms that are forcing some people to travel outside for their short vacations. Thank you very much.
Let me give you an idea of what's on your mind, because I've already got a question here which really I think goes to the heart of the challenge. It reminds me of the Australian advertising slogan a few years ago, where they did everything and then they put up a slogan saying, "Where the hell are you?" Because people were not fully responding. We've got a question here on Twitter. How many tourist visas for Saudi Arabia were issued in 2013? And you like having guests in your country, but just very quickly, can I just pick up that point very quickly? Because clearly this is, in many people's minds, a restriction on making it a destination. Mr. Al-Badr or Mr. Al-Sheikh, can you just help us on the numbers quickly as a point of data?
There is about more than 14,000 tourists coming to Saudi Arabia from outside.
How many?
From other countries. 14 million, excuse me.
I was going to say
14 million.
1-4.
Excuse me. 1-4 million. They come. One of them is the biggest for Umrah, is about 40%. The rest will come for businesses, will come for family and visiting family and friends, and for other tourism needs.
But how many out of that 14 million are actually here for the Hajj?
The Hajj is about almost, or the total, Hajj and Umrah is about 5 million.
I'm putting that into the mix at the moment because clearly that is a restriction, a feeling that there's difficulty still getting tourist visas. We can come back to that, but I wanted you to know what's on the mind of those in the room. Let's move on to the experience of Barcelona, can we? You see it from the football point of view, from the corporate point of view, also from the city and your region's point of view, about how you attract people, how you make a place like Barcelona very attractive. not just the Olympics, but a constant brand promotion which makes people want to get on a plane and enjoy El Prat Airport and moving into the city. So, Landa, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Nick. Well, Spain, Barcelona, and Spain, is one of the top countries in the tourist industry, contributing, case of Spain, to more than 10% of the GDP, but more important than that, being labor-intensive, the industry, generating a lot of employment, which is a little bit the goal of all of us, and I've heard that a lot in those 2 days. Barcelona received more than 34 million visitors, 10 million visitors attending just the trade fairs. The importance of Barcelona has become the fact that it's not a city where the people want to go once. It's becoming a repetition city. People want to go several times, like might be Paris or London or New York. The importance of Barcelona as a tourist destination has changed in the latest years because Spain has been predominantly a country with sand and beach tourist destination. Many Mediterranean countries are facing competition, Egypt, Morocco, Tunisia, Croatia, having great places, offering a great quality and having a great potential in the future. So Spain has to look at the competitiveness for the short future, thinking other possibilities, and that came by looking at the trends. United Nations says that by 2050, moving from 20% nowadays to the 30% the population will be older than 60. So thinking about another aspect that is very important, which is the connectivity, the fact is that urban tourist destination is becoming very important. And I heard that by His Highness saying the importance of business and meetings and events, and also, looking about hospitality in this. All of that has created something important because this crisis, those 4-year crises that we had in many countries, has made that middle class has suffered a lot, and the fly and drive destination has become something important. Urban destinations, people attending, cities, being connected, willing to be connected. This is one of the most important facts that Barcelona has intended to be moving from being a smart city to a friendly city. And talking about friendly, this country, this kingdom, there is something that knows to do very well, that is hospitality. How you host, how you accept your people, your guests, this is something that you have to move forward.
Can I just pick up on that point raised by that first question about the welcome and the ease of accessibility and mobility? It's a very practical judgment that has to be made by those who might want to come to a country, whether it be visas or the distance of, or the accessibility of the airport or the ease of going through an airport. In Marrakesh, it's 10 minutes from the city. In Barcelona, you're 12 kilometers from the city center. How much is all of that an important part of the package and attraction?
It's crucial. We have to keep always, the user or the consumer at the center of whatever decision in the value proposition. Not only because, a trip is long time thought in advance to plan a trip. It's because, after the trip, after the experience, social networks, put that experience, what is supposed to be a unique and experimental experience in word of mouth of everybody. So if we want to develop whatever tourist destination, whatever development, what is important is to think that, we cannot have tourists coming and attending, at the airport, not having visas, not accepting. So all the stakeholders around of bringing tourists, bringing visitors to a country have to be very conscious about, this fact, because, what is supposed to be, a magic moment that becomes into a nightmare sometimes.
Vanessa, let's move on with you, both on the practical side and the way a glorious city where you have established yourself has really turned itself into somewhere which was quite backward but very historic, into somewhere which is pretty modern and very attractive, not least in communication and the ease of getting there.
Yes, thanks, and thank you very much for inviting us here. I'm really talking with two hats on, one as the owner of a hotel in Marrakesh, and the other as the founder and president of the Marrakesh Biennale. Marrakesh has long been a destination for tourists. It's very easily accessible for the rest of Europe to get there. It's guaranteed sunshine, and people are very welcoming, and it's very beautiful, and there are lots of crafts, and it's a really lovely place to visit. Food's great. But it was at risk of becoming a slightly sort of Disneyfied place, sort of that harked back to North African culture, and it was attracting quite a lot of not so educated tourists. And I was worried because having a hotel, I didn't want it just to be sort of mass tourist destination. Also, in 2004, as a response to world events, when the world was starting to go a bit upside down and there was a lot of misunderstanding between our cultures, I felt that by starting an arts event, we could redress that balance a little bit. So in 2004, I started the Biennale, and really as a platform for debate, by using the arts as a medium to talk through our differences and our similarities. You can talk about quite contentious issues without causing any offence if you're using the example of a film or a book. So a Biennale is typically lasts for 3 months. It happens every other year. And then there's a focus during the first week of the opening on events, debates, discussions, and then the exhibitions are on for a further 3 months, giving a nice long window for tourists to come during the rest of that time, rather than just condensing it into that first week. It doesn't, in our experience, the Biennale builds year on, year out, and we attract really, really world-class visitors and contributors, obviously. These are high-spending, international arts, intelligent, educated, extraordinary people. So having a Biennale doesn't just bring great return on investment. I think we had 66,000 visitors last year, staying in good hotels, and it brings. Oh, hold on, I better click my clicker. It brings an enormous amount of PR, because obviously you get regenerated. Every year there's something interesting happening. It brings an enormous enrichment into the city, because all the artists are discussing things with the local youth. And it just sort of injects an energy of something very possible and very exciting into the city. Really enriches the culture. So you've got the double benefit of bringing in money. People are talking about the city. There are people who come back again and again, year on, year out, which is your ideal. And the city's enriched at the same time, so it's a win-win-win situation. Now, I hear wind that there's a possibility that there might be a Biennale in the kingdom, and I, for one, am very excited. I think this country's as ready as ever for some cultural event here. Your heritage is without question quite astonishing. We've been to some of the museums here, and it's the cradle of civilization, and you really have that feeling here. I've never been here before, but I've been most taken by the astonishing hospitality of Saudi Arabia and the welcome. When I mentioned to people that I was coming here, everyone was so curious and excited and saying, "I'm dying to hear your stories when you get back." This city has an educated population, and it's got a growing arts scene. It's got, a country that gives out the message that it's confident in its contemporary thinking, is a country that is showing the world that it's confident in its future. And I, for one, are very excited about coming back to the Biennale here in a few years' time. Thank you very much.
Vanessa, can I just pick up, though? You mentioned how in Marrakesh a large number of people, after they've been to the Biennale, come back time and time again. In other words, you're multiplying interest, reputation, and so on. How much is that important now for a destination? Those who want to keep coming back, spending money, bringing others, spreading the word.
Well, I think there are two things that are really important about this, is that I think familiarity breeds love, actually, and a number of the people who come to the Biennale then go on, they come back again, they make some friends in the city, and then they actually come back and invest in the city themselves by, either buying a hotel, a place, a farm. supporting local charity associations. I mean, I've seen it again and again. It's not just these people actually, you know, invest their time, their care, their expertise back into the country. I mean, Morocco hasn't got oil, so it can't be, you know, it can't be relaxed. It really welcomes international input. It also, for the young people, it's not so easy to get out of Marrakesh. You can't just go and work in different countries willy-nilly. It gives them great access to some of the best thinkers of their generation, and exchanging these ideas really stimulates the economy in ways that it's quite difficult to quantify. But it gives young people, you know, design, restaurants, music, the collaborations go on to, you know, the arts stimulate innovative thinking, and innovative thinking stimulates great business. And, you know, it's positive all the way. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, well, let's move on across the Gulf to the Emirates, to His Excellency Abdullah Nasser Al Douta. You are the Secretary General for the Emirates Competitiveness Council, which by its name is recognizing how competitive this whole issue and area is. And that's what you're trying to drive, competitiveness at different levels with different brands in different Emirates. And you used to work for Microsoft, which proves that there's a convergence there between selling software and selling a brand and destination. What are your perspectives, therefore, about how a destination sells itself?
Thank you very much for giving me the chance to present. Your Royal Highness, Saudi Arabia has been a great host to everyone who came from abroad. Here is one thing that we would like to build on. Countries need to behave with a positive attitude towards tourists. And this is something that we believe in, and we gave the role to each and every single individual, entity, and sector in the UAE to act with a responsibility. One key stakeholder is actually our Vice President, the Prime Minister of the UAE, and the ruler of Dubai himself. He usually tweets whenever there is a key function or a key event taking place. Recently, he welcomed visitors to the UAE, and he wished them a great holiday. This is something that goes across all the sectors in the UAE. It's embedded, and it's part of the DNA of the society. Including others who are different in terms of culture, religion, background, languages, or color, is something very important to the sustainability of any nation. If a nation would like to bet on travel and tourism as a key sector that adds value to the economy. In the 70s, our GDP was up here at 90s, with contribution of oil and gas so high, above 90, and less than 10% goes to other sectors, such as the financial sector, the tourism sector, the manufacturing sector. Today, this has shifted, and we are at 36% dependency on oil and gas, and the rest is a contribution of major sectors such as the financial, the manufacturing, and travel and tourism, where we believe that dependency on oil and gas is not sustainable, and we need to make sure that if we are going to compete as a nation in the longer run, we need to have diversity. At this point of time, our dependency on travel and tourism is equivalent to 7.6% of our annual GDP. This is a huge percentage for a nation as young as the UAE. 41 years, and we have achieved this great percentage. Dubai, in particular, is heavily dependent on travel and tourism. 22% of Dubai's GDP is dependent on travel and tourism-related industry. If we want to quantify this in terms of value or monetary value, the UAE has generated around $20 billion worth of investments and worth of income or receipts that came for travel and tourism. Basically, Emirates Airlines gained, Etihad Airways gained, the transportation companies such as Avis, Europcar and other means of transportation, naming the metro or the Dubai taxi or Abu Dhabi taxis. We're speaking about retailers such as the Dubai Mall, the Galleria Mall in Abu Dhabi. All these sectors have benefited and took a chunk of the $20 billion worth of investment. We are expecting this value to grow, especially that although we decided to host or to bid for Expo 2020 only recently, our forecast for year 2020 was to reach a tourist number of around 20 million tourists coming to the UAE collectively. With Expo, we are forecasting 27 million tourists in year 2020. This would require huge investments in the infrastructure, whether it's roads, ports, railroads, airports. This also includes investments in the hotel business and the apartments, the furnished apartment business. We are catering for the future. We are investing in the future. This is something that we were taught by His Highness Sheikh Mohammed. One day I was very lucky to sit down with him and someone was challenging him. Why do you invest so much? Why do you put so much? You don't know what's going to happen. And he said, if you are in the middle of the desert and if you have a couple of seeds, make sure that you throw the seeds, plant them, water them, and the trees will grow. Trees will attract birds. Birds will attract life. Humans will come to enjoy the shade and to make a living. And this is exactly what's happening within the UAE. They're investing for the future. Some people find it quite astonishing that they allocate a huge amount of their annual budgets for investing in an airport that will take a capacity of around 100 million passengers. That is Al Maktoum Bridge. But the dialogue we're having internally, this is necessary. If we want to remain a connecting point where talent get together for exhibitions like this, where families can travel to enjoy with their children and with their spouses or with their partners, something unique and spectacular, then the UAE should be ready at that time, whenever the time is.
Thank you. Great success, extraordinary numbers, 2 giant airports, one which has just been opened. You are really managing success, and success can become overwhelming. So what do you say to those who look at what you're doing and say, is there a limit to what you're doing? And of course, Abu Dhabi is developing big time as well, dramatically increasing the capacity of its airport there.
Sure. What we see is that within Emirates Competitiveness Council, we are working with the different stakeholders. We're working with the 7 Emirates to make sure that we are sustaining our leading position. We are not yet in many specific indicators that are related to travel and tourism, but we are leading in areas such as, for example, airport infrastructure. We are number 3 globally. When it comes to road infrastructure, we're number 2 globally. How do you sustain as a country this leading position? And what would it take you to achieve number 1? There are major changes that needs to be taking place within the port system, within the transportation system, that would position the UAE when it comes to infrastructure as number 1. This requires a collective effort by the 7 Emirates. Dubai cannot act alone. Abu Dhabi cannot act alone, and they need to work together as the major 2 cities, plus the other cities which also have ambition and they have aims to achieve.
Quick question, do you see Saudi Arabia as a challenge to your competitiveness?
Actually, I see Saudi Arabia as a partner. Remember that the number 1 tourist coming to the UAE today are the Saudis. And actually, one of the tweets that His Highness said, I remember very well, he acknowledged all tourists, but he said, I also welcome the Saudis. And he stated that I don't welcome them as guests, I actually welcome them as citizens in their hometown. Saudis, when I look at what we're doing with Oman, Emirates Holidays, if you open any website on Emirates Holidays or travel agents in the UAE, you will see combined trips between the UAE and Oman, because there are tourists that would like to see Dubai or Abu Dhabi, but they would like to see something different. And Oman offers something different. Saudi Arabia offers something unique and different. How do we make sure that when we promote ourselves as GCC, maybe this is a platform where we have a competitiveness council for the whole of GCC.
Right,
we promote one another rather than competing on a smaller pie.
We can't have that negotiation here. We hear the aspiration. I've got a lot of questions here, so bear with me. And what I'd like to do, if I may, one particularly on hospitality from Ferris. Let me just go back to Badr Badr, why we don't have many schools for hospitality like the one in Jeddah in King Abdulaziz University. In other words, suggesting you don't have enough skilled people at the moment.
We do have, it's not only one. His His Royal Highness the Prince just announced one that opened very recently. There is 2 or 3 in Riyadh, 1 in Asir, so the statistic is not correct. I do agree, though, that we need to emphasize more on the training of young
Could that be a limiter if you don't have enough capacity generating the skills and the professional abilities?
The whole ecosystem needs to be worked on, not only the institutes. There is a mindset that needs to be shifted, as His Royal Highness the Prince has mentioned. We've seen some progress there. We still need to work on that. We need to work on-job training. So lots of things need to fall into place.
Right. May I, Mr. Sheikh, come to you with a number of questions which are coming from here. We got a Twitter message from Ninoism. I don't think that we highlight or take care of our heritage or art very well. It needs attention. How can we get involved? In other words, worries that even though, as His Highness says, we are a country full of antiquities, we don't even touch the surface, that much more needs to be done to preserve and to cherish what you have.
Let me elaborate on the development of tourism in Saudi Arabia. It's a story to be told and an experience to be taught and everywhere. And I think there is a book is being prepared by sector on the development of tourism, on the success of development of tourism in Saudi Arabia. When the sector started 13 or 14 years ago, it has to work on different fronts to develop tourism. One of them is in the society. If you allow me, would you allow me to speak in Arabic? Is it okay?
Yes.
الهيئة السياحة لما اضطرت أنها تتكلم عن أو تبدأ الهيئة تطوير السياحة كان بالنسبة لنا.
Hamad, could I just tell you, we don't all have our headsets. Do we have headsets? Could someone bring me a headset, please? Thank you. Go ahead.
تطوير السياحه لما بدا في 14 سنه واختير له صاحب السمو الملكي الامير سلطان بن سلمان كان تحدي كبير امام الهيئه لتطوير السياحه. الهيئه اشتغلت على يمكن عده اتجاهات، اتجاه طبعا اتجاه السائح اللي يذكر في السائح في المملكه كانت كلمه السياحه تعني السفر خارج المملكه، ليس تعني فقط السفر داخل المملكه يعني سفر، ليس يعني سفر. فالهيئه احتاجت سنوات طويله حتى تغير ثقافه المجتمع والنظره للسياحه، ان السياحه ليست ترفيه، ان السياحه هي اقتصاد، ان السياحه ليس فقط هم ضيوف نستقبلهم، لكن ايضا هي مصدر الوظائف، مصدر للدخل كل مواطن المملكه اللي يعملون في السياحه. الهيئة أيضا اشتغلت على موضوع البيئة النظامية، سمو الأمير ذكر موضوع الأنظمة، يعني الأنظمة العديدة اللي الهيئة تعبت على عملية تغييرها في المملكة لتهيئة البنية أو البيئة لصناعة السياحة في المملكة لتبدأ. أنظمة عديدة الهيئة طورتها جديدة وعملت طبعا مع شركائها، وأنظمة جديدة أو أنظمة قائمة احتاجت الأمر لتعديلها وبعض الإجراءات. هذا كان بالنسبة لنا كانت من ضمن التحديات اللي عملت عليها الهيئة. ايضا موضوع الشركاء، السياحه ليست تقوم على جهه واحده، تقوم على عده جهات شريكه تعمل في الصناعه. الهيئه اضطرت انها تاخذ بعض شركائها توديهم الى دول متقدمه في السياحه حتى يشاهدوا السياحه، لان ثقافه السياحه ليس فقط انك تقوم بمشاريع، لكن ايضا شركاء معك لازم يؤمنوا بموضوع السياحه ويؤمنوا ان هدف السياحه ليس فقط الترفيه، لا انها ايضا اقتصاد. فالهيئه اضطرت انها تاخذ مجموعات كبيره من شركائها في مناطق المملكه ومن جهات حكوميه الى دول اخرى حتى يكتسبوا، حتى يشوفوا السياحه. صناعه السياحه، صناعه السياحه ايضا كانت تحدي. انا اذكر الهيئه لما بدات في موضوع التصنيف او تصنيف الفنادق، ملاك الفنادق ومشغل الفنادق احتجوا لان التصنيف السابق كان بالنسبه لهم يعتقدون انه هذا الافضل. الهيئة اضطرت أن تعمل مع الصناعة حتى تقنعهم بعملية أن كل ما تعمله الهيئة هو من أجل تهيئة الصناعة وبناء الصناعة. الهيئة أيضا عملت مع الإعلاميين كان ضروري جدا أنهم يعتبروا شركاء، لأن اضطرت الهيئة أن يكون في برامج للتأكيد على أن السياحة في المملكة هي من أفضل وأفضل، طبعا الوجهات السياحية من أجمل الوجهات السياحية في المملكة وغنية جدا. فاضطرت الهيئة السياحة أن تعمل مع الإعلاميين، أحيانا تأخذهم في رحلات إلى داخل المملكة أو رحلات إلى خارج المملكة حتى يؤمنوا بالسياحة ويشوفوا النظرة للسياحة وكيفية السياحة. عملية الوظائف، عملية التوظيف والوظائف ليس فقط الكليات، عملية توفير كليات وجامعات، هي قناعة المجتمع بأن الوظائف والعمل في صناعة السياحة يعتبر مهم، ويعتبر أنه ليس فقط الشباب هم اللي يؤمنوا فيها لكن أيضا أهاليهم. فهي أيضا عملت على موضوع تهيئة الأهالي وقناعهم بأن صناعة السياحة والوظائف فيها تدر الدخل وتوفر فرص وظيفية. كان just one more thing. المجتمع كان من ضمن التحديات أن الهيئة توصل للمجتمع، يعني مسؤولي الهيئة والأمير سلطان نفسه كان يزور مجتمعات حتى يقنعهم بالسياحة، ومن ضمنها اللي ذكروا عملية أنه كيفية المحافظة على الآثار والتراث العمراني في المملكة. فالأمير سلطان نفسه كان أحيانا يذهب إلى بعض القرى يقنعهم بعملية أن السياحة ليست تحدي لهم، ليست خطر عليهم، وإنما لهم للمحافظة على ما يمتلكونه من تراث وآثار. أيضا المشاريع الكبيرة لموضوع تطوير التراث واللي يعلن المشروع الكبير لمشروع التراث الحضاري المملكة، مشروع الملك عبد الله للتراث الحضاري، هذا يعتبر من أهم المشاريع يمكن على مستوى منطقة الشرق الأوسط، وهو اللي يجيب على التساؤل اللي ذكرت الأخت أنه حيأكد على مهمة وعلى استراتيجية المملكة المحافظة على التراث العمراني، عفوا على التراث بشكل عام في المملكة.
Ahmed Al-Sheikh, let me just pick up on what Vanessa was saying a moment ago about the success of Marrakesh. There's a tweet here from Shahad Alissa. Tourism in the kingdom is more focused on heritage and culture. Are there plans for bringing the entertainment part of the tourism industry to the forefront due to the important role it plays in the tourism industry? In other words, understanding the role of entertainment, and there's obviously part of that question for the hotel business, which tends to be very much a promoter of this kind of attraction as well.
Yeah, we know the challenge. If you look at the consumer is not just one group. There is so many groups. There is a group they need entertainment. There is a group they need heritage. They need sports. They need different groups. That's a challenge for us and for our stakeholders to meet the needs for all these groups. If you look at this week we have a vacation, we have 27 festivals. Most of them are entertainment, and they meet the need for the locals. This is very important. So
you're saying that this observation isn't really quite correct?
Unless they're asking about some certain of entertainment, I think whatever the society has entertainment, what is capable to is doing it now.
And picking up the point about the opportunity and what we heard right at the end of the perspective from Marrakesh, do you see the chance now of raising still further the level of entertainment, art, culture as an attraction which can bring together and bind together the various attractions which tourists and visitors will want to see?
Yes, you're right. There is always a room for change and for improvement. If you look for each of these consumers groups, their demand is not met fully. And there is a new demand. There is always developing a new demand. So this is a challenging for the fast movement. I'll just give you just one example. From 2010 and 2015, the tourism trips in Saudi Arabia almost doubled. So when there is a bigger demand, that we're trying to work with our stakeholders to meet these demands in different areas and
okay,
entertainment one of them.
Badra, just your view about broadening the appeal.
That's the crux of my point there. In Saudi Arabia, we do have some demand already there. We need to provide more attractions, more activities for people to do. If you are talking about broadening the appeal to bring in people from outside who are not visiting Saudi already, I think it's a bit too premature for Saudi Arabia. Let's first of all focus on the 3 segments that I have outlined, and then we will be ready to address other segments.
Let me just check the view from the Emirates. There we heard from Vanessa the value of bringing art and culture. You're now moving that very much up the spectrum with your film festival, with your literary festival and so on. Are there any downsides on the political side which make anyone within the Emirates say there's a limit to what we can do here?
I don't believe that there is a limit. What we're trying to achieve in the UAE is catering for everyone. These festivals are very important because they bring people together.
Do they work for you?
They work very well, whether it's the Dubai Film Festival or the Sharjah Biennale or the Abu Dhabi Film Festival. Ras Al Khaimah has their own festival. So all these festivals, whether they're art, paintings, we're going to open the Opera House in a couple of years in the UAE. Who would think, well, Oman was actually the pioneer with their Opera House, but who would think that the Middle East, especially the GCC, would have an opera house where it's fully booked months in advance. So people, whether they're living within the UAE or in the neighboring countries, they're looking forward to seeing something different. They're looking forward to connecting with different people from different cultures, with different backgrounds. We're just offering them the platform in the UAE. Now, for example, one of the things that we do in the UAE, but I don't participate in, is 24 hours shopping experience. I think this is madness, but many people within the UAE, actually, they enjoy it. So offer it and leave it to the people to make their own choices.
Thank you. Let's move on. There are quite a lot of messages here and not much time to do it in. What about sport? Landa, this for you. A question on Twitter from Fahad Al-Shamsan. What is the sports industry in the Middle East missing in order to maximize the local potential and growth?
What is missing? Well, unfortunately, we cannot bring Messi here. That always help. But I've been several times in the kingdom, you know, with friends, with Hussein, and I've seen that the power of football or different sports within the youth. They play very well. I think it's a matter, you know, to move into the professional side, to get organized into the clubs, and to know each other in terms of who wants to do what. You know, sometimes that happens as well, even in big clubs, that the guy that is doing the business wants to make the team, and the guy that is within the team, he wants to run as well. You know,
because there are 2 or 3 neighboring countries who are spending a lot of money on putting that badge on very high-level football clubs. What's your impression, now you're one stage back, of the importance that is to brand and acknowledgement and reputation and visibility?
It's a bit of everything, you know, doing, you know, what I call country marketing. They are putting, you know, the name of the country, you know, a little bit worldwide, and this is important. You know, visibility is important. You know, there is a moment that you know, supporters of sport need to know on other realities, and especially in the Middle East, you know, where several countries have bet a lot in terms of sports in Europe, especially in football.
Let me pick up on another point. It wasn't central to what His Royal Highness said, but the issue of the environment and the dangers. Let me put you a point here from Saud Al-Faisal. The coral reefs of the Red Sea and the Arabian Gulf are suffering greatly and degrading exponentially from overfishing and lack of regulation. What is SCTA doing to address this issue? And when you see the danger that the Australian Great Barrier Reef is now in because of a whole host of reasons, how much is that central to you and sustainability, keeping sustainability and survivability for all your great antiquities, all your great natural attractions? Keep it.
Yeah, tourism is the only industry that needs environment, and it helps protect and develop environment. This is a well-known word.
Are you sure of that?
Yes, it's very important. In Saudi Arabia, especially sector is working in different fronts to protect the environment. One of them is educating the public. Sector is developing and conducting programs, training programs for the young people, even for the locals, and how they can enjoy the environment without affecting or destroying the environment. And how can they help defending the environment? The second thing is the government sector has worked with other government agencies and developed strategies and implementing these strategies in protecting the coral reefs and the natural areas, working with the Wildlife Commission and developing more wildlife areas, protected areas, and working with the municipality also in defining the development zones. So the government, so the tourism, you see that no one would care about this environment without sector getting involved and trying to push other government agencies to protect the environment.
Let me finally give you, to both of you from the Kingdom, a question literally just in from Reem Abdul Hamid. And it's pretty explicit here, talking about poor services to attract tourists. What is being done to improve the quality of our services to attract a more diverse tourist?
If you look at the hotel industry, one of them is what the most complaint from tourists is about the hotel quality. 5 years ago, the sector implemented the classification licensing law on all the hotels and furnished apartments. So we downgraded the hotels and apartments were not given the quality to the consumers, okay, unless they improved their quality. We have seen in the last 5 years, after a sector implemented this one, there is a much improvement in the quality. There is much improvement investment in the high quality hotels and apartments around the kingdom was not there. We've seen brand hotels, international brand hotels in regions were not there before 5 years ago. If you look at the hotel, there is some more quality hotels and 5 stars in provinces they were not there. Even the numbers has increased and doubled some provinces.
And Badra, do you accept that criticism? I mean, you both own hotels and manage hotels.
I do accept that there was an issue in quality. I do concur, though, that after the new regulation came out, things became clearer. It's easy now for the consumer to differentiate without going to the hotel between the good ones and the bad ones. We, as a company as well, invested heavily in upgrading all our hotels. For example, the one in Tabuk, totally refurbished. Riyadh Marriott, totally refurbished. So we're working on, in addition to building new hotels, refurbishing all our hotels to meet the new sector standards.
Let me give you each 30 seconds. You can see we've got the red light here. What is the one thing you'd say to Saudi Arabia about what it's got to be careful of and be aware of when it comes to the business of developing as a destination, because it can become overwhelming?
Well, I would say that, to keep in mind that the best promotion of the country is going to be by the tourists that will come, and that the tourists that once they will come, they will talk about the country. So social networks, are key. So keep always in mind that, that the user, the consumer, the tourist has to be the focus of the experience you're going to give him.
Vanessa.
It's very hard to...
Well, look, think about it.
Get 30 seconds. Well, I've just got one little motto, which is quite wonderful, I think. It works, is under-promise and over-deliver.
Thank you.
Okay, I will go actually, this nation can dream extremely big. So first, dream very big. There's huge potential. Plan carefully and execute perfectly.
Perfectly?
Yeah.
That means 100%.
That's 120%.
120%. Badra, can you deliver 120%?
We could if we focus on it, definitely.
Mr. Sheikh.
I think the tourism is the government has done its job. I think the private sector in Saudi Arabia the role is only to develop tourism with the help with the government, especially in investment and investment facilitation.
Well, thank you all very much indeed. I've run out of time, I'm afraid. I've got red lights bleeping at me here, and we are 1 hour over, I'm afraid. So I'm afraid I'm under clear instructions that you're not even going to get a coffee break. There's going to be a pause. Please don't all evacuate the room because we need to keep the momentum going. But can I thank the panelists from wherever you've come for joining us to talk about destinations and the real challenges ahead. Thank you all very much indeed. So please stay in your seats or around your tables and don't disappear. Then we can get the next panel up and running within 2 minutes.